From small annoyances or inconveniences to completely game-breaking bugs, here are 50 things that Dead by Daylight players absolutely hate. Number 1. When a survivor DCs after being the first survivor downed. This is annoying for both the killer and the survivor. Like, if you're just gonna DC without even giving the game a chance, what is the point in playing this game to begin with? You're not only wasting your own time, you're wasting the time of your teammates, because now you're gonna be replaced with a bot, which is only better than like 70% of the player base. And for the killer, they basically get a free win with the annoyance of having to chase a bot that has wall hacks. So it just makes no sense to DC immediately. Like, trust me, I understand there are certain killers you just really don't want to play against, but you gotta at least give it a chance, because there are some games against the most miserable killers ever that end up being the most fun games because of different plays that you make. Number 2, when the worst teammate who did nothing on match is the only person that escapes. I swear this happens to me so frequently, it's so annoying. It'll always be the teammates who just hide all game and never do gens, so they're never being chased by the killer because they're always hiding. So we end up doing all the work, but then they get to escape, and it's really frustrating. Number 3, when you're playing killer and are going against someone that knows how to loop the pog log. This is a very niche situation to happen, but this loop is miserable, especially if you're playing an M1 killer. It's one of those loops where if you see a survivor going to it, you should just leave. Like, just treat it like an invulnerability area. I'm sure a majority of you have not actually experienced this. Like, I have multiple thousand hours on this game, and I've experienced it maybe 3 or 4 times throughout my entire playtime, but oh my god, the pog log destroys me. Number 4, when your random teammate leaves immediately and doesn't try to help the team. I hate selfish players with a burning passion. Like, you can play however you want, that's completely fine. But there are so many situations where you could help the team and get everybody out instead of you leaving and leaving everybody else to die. I get it if you're doing like an adept challenge or something, but if you're just doing it because you don't care about these random strangers, it's a little cringe. It especially makes me mad when you just finished all the gens and you see this person go immediately to the exit gate and immediately leave. They don't even process anything else that's happening in the match. They don't even check to see if their help is needed. They just go. Number 5, when you're running a hex perk and it gets cleansed within a minute of the match starting. I don't think I need to explain this one. Everybody knows why this is frustrating. Number 6, when you're leveling up a character but forget to switch back to a character you were playing before, so you load in with no perks or items. This happens to me way more than I'd like to admit, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of you. I can guarantee that a majority of you go on like TikTok or Twitter or Instagram or something during queues, and that's why you always forget to switch back. You may want to consider having a full loadout for the character that you're leveling up so that this doesn't happen. Number 7, survivors who teabag/emo at pallets, windows, or the exit gate. This is a very frustrating thing as killer, especially if you're having a bad match, and I completely understand why people hate it. But consider this. The point of pallets and windows is to get distance from the killer. If survivors are teabagging and emoting, that means they're not gaining said distance. So technically it's helping you. So you may actually want to stop hating this because it does actually help you win. Granted, not by much, but it is something. Number 8, seeing your teammates just hiding, doing nothing. This is the most infuriating thing if you're playing solo queue. Seeing people that are just like crouching in a corner, just watching, it doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, if you're being stealthy for a few seconds, that is perfectly fine. But I will see people who will go near a hook and just sit there and just wait for something to happen, for some opening to magically appear. But just sitting there doesn't do anything. And they'll be fully healed and be the only one with no hook states, and they'll still be playing stealthy. I'm sure all you solo queue players understand how miserable this is. Number 9, whenever you down someone and lag causes their body to teleport ever so slightly, so you spend a few seconds just spamming the pickup button while moving around to try to find the prompt. This is the most like specific but relatable thing I think in this video. I'm sure all of you killer players have experienced this. It's not even that big of a deal. You just have muscle memory built up of how far to go before you can pick up the survivor, and sometimes it just doesn't work, so it's super confusing and you have to look around to find where they teleported to. Number 10, this one's an easy one. Missing your DS skill check. It is not hard to hit your DS skill check at all, so that's all the more reason why players hate when they do this, because it's so much of a skill issue. And if you miss it, that is a perk going completely to waste in a situation where you absolutely need it. So it's just a terrible time if that happens to you. Number 11, when you're playing Demogorgon and instead of shredding the pallet, you hit it like it's a wall. Again, another very niche thing that happens, but this has happened to me so many times that it's just super frustrating. Like, you have a good angle to shred the pallet, but you just don't for whatever reason. You must be like 1 degree off or something. Number 12, when your teammates let you take second stage or die on hook. This is mostly a solo queue issue, which is why a ton of solo queue players run Kindred, because this happens so frequently. Since there's a lack of communication, survivors don't really know who should be going for the save or if somebody is actually going for the save. So many times they will all just make the wrong call, and then you end up taking second stage or dying on hook when it's completely out of your control. And man, being put into worse situations when it's out of your control feels really bad. Before we get into the next spot on this list, I wanted to quickly tell you about something that I have been using to help my sleep quality drastically drastically, and that is the Manta Sleep Mask right here. Yes, this is a sponsored ad, but these are my genuine thoughts about the product because I've been using it for about a month now. First off, this fixes the issue that I normally have with sleep masks where they're flat, so they press up against your eyes and they're just generally just very uncomfortable to wear. They have these cupped parts that go around your eyes, so they go on perfectly and they can be adjusted to fit your head shape. Plus, they're super soft and breathable, so your face isn't gonna get sweaty, and they're 100% blackout. So if you're traveling or you have a big window and you don't have blackout curtains, these are basically a portable version of blackout curtains. Like if I put this on, there is no light leakage at all, not even in the top or the bottom. And this model in particular, which is their new generation Manta Sound Sleep Mask, also has these flat speakers that can be adjusted and you can connect your phone via Bluetooth. And I was really skeptical about the speakers because I am a side sleeper, so I figured it would be pretty uncomfortable to have a speaker right on the side of your head, but they're actually so flat and cushioned that you can't even feel them at all. And the absolute best feature is that you can take out all of the tech so that you can wash it in the laundry. It makes keeping your face clean and this clean super convenient. This is a product that I am genuinely using every single night and whenever I travel. So if you're interested in getting one yourself, go to the link below and use my code Kaido10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. Plus they have a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, so you can try it out, and if you don't like it, you can easily refund it. Thank you Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Number 13. This is a very specific pet peeve of mine, but it's when a survivor is going for a flashlight save that will clearly not be an angle, but they still shine the flashlight anyway. Like the killer could be looking in a completely different direction and they'll still shine the flashlight. Not only are you letting the killer know where you are, assuming they didn't hear you, but you're also wasting flashlight battery and just kind of giving me secondhand embarrassment. I know some people do it as a bit because it's funny, but for the people who do it legitimately, I think it might just be the nerves of going for a flashlight save, but still, please stop doing this. Number 14, when a killer is able to turn a 4-man escape into a 4K just because of NOED. Now granted, this doesn't happen as often now that NOED is nerfed, but it does still happen sometimes. And every survivor knows how annoying this is. A killer can play super badly, and then because of one perk that takes no skill to use, they're able to completely turn it into a 4K. Of course, in this situation, a big majority of it is the survivor's fault, but it's still not fun for it to happen. Number 15, when you're playing Blight, Hillbilly, Wesker, etc., and you spawn in on an indoor map. This is actually one of the worst feelings because you know that you're just not going to be able to use your power the entire time. Like the only thing that you can do is back rev the survivors or just deal with the super frustrating hitboxes of an indoor map. And I swear that when you're playing Hillbilly, the chances of going to an indoor map increase. Number 16, when you loop the killer the entire game, but end up being the one that gets the least amount of blood points. This is an unfortunate side effect of the fact that being well-rounded gives you more points. So just having all your points in boldness, which is like getting chased and stuff, will only give you up to like a fourth of the amount of blood points you could get. And this is just super annoying because if you were like getting hard tunneled the entire game, but you're able to survive and you still get rewarded the least for it, that is very annoying. Number 18, this one hits close to home, and it's how much they butchered the Coldwind Farm realm. This used to be one of my favorite realms in the game. It was super aesthetic, it fit the horror theme, it had very fun loops on both sides, and now it blinds my eyes. There's so many dead zones, it doesn't have any character to it anymore. It's so awful now. I actually can't believe the downfall of Coldwind. Number 19, when you're playing Survivor in an endgame scenario, but the killer can just stand completely still in one single spot and see both doors. At this point, there's just nothing you can do, because as soon as you go for one door, they'll just come straight to you. Luckily, they have been getting a little bit better about this with new maps, because they've been purposely putting line of sight blockers to prevent this from happening. But man, when it does happen, it is very annoying. Number 20, when you're playing Demogorgon and trying to shred off of a high place for distance, only to be stopped by a super high hitbox. Another very specific situation, but as Demogorgon, I just want to fly across the map. Why can I not go over this 3-foot tall bush? Number 21, playing against those comp, no shower win streak players using an S tier killer with 4 slowdowns. I really don't need to explain this one. Nobody likes to play against this. There's not a single survivor that likes to play against this. Number 22, 2v8 killer queue times. And I'm not even just referring to playing killer in 2v8. I'm referring to normal queue times as well. It makes queue times absolutely miserable, and they really need to figure out a way to fix this. I actually came up with a bunch of very good ideas on how to fix the queue times in my last video, so I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. Number 23, this is another more personal annoyance, but it's them adding new tiles on old maps. I hate when they do this. I love the idea of new tiles, but I don't want them to replace old tiles on old maps. Certain maps played really well because of how the tiles were laid out, so having all these random new tiles that are generally significantly worse and much more complicated than the old tiles just makes the maps feel so much more clunky. It's totally fine to add new tiles to new maps because that gives them their own character and their own unique distinction. Like for example, the Yamoka and Ormond loop, where it's like the logs bugs with the palette and then the long wall window. Like when that was added, they did it perfectly. They added it to new maps and did not put it on old maps. But now we're getting all these new tiles on old maps and it's so confusing and I'm too old for this. Number 24, any killer that can M2 fake to get a free hit, or realistically, any killer that can put you in a situation where no matter what you do, you get hit. This is something I've complained about forever in DBD. It was most prevalent when Pyramid Head and Deathslinger came out because they had no downside of using their ability and canceling it. So if you were at a window, for example, you either take the window and get hit, or you don't take the window and get hit anyway. So there was just no counterplay. And it's still kind of prevalent, especially with Pyramid Head. So if you're at a pallet and he sticks a sword in the ground, you either throw the pallet and get hit because they're locked in an animation, or you don't throw the pallet and he cancels it and M1s you. And it's just so boring. It's so boring. Number 25, when survivors are successfully able to body block to get an injured person all the way to the exit gate. Now, obviously, every killer player knows how painful it is to have a really rough match, and then you're trying to just get that last down on the super susceptible injured survivor, and you just can't because they're body blocking you. And it's so frustrating. Like, yes, it's a genuine strategy, and it's really satisfying if you are the survivors being able to do that. But my God, from the killer's POV, it is so annoying. Number 26, when you get ping hit from really far away, this happens particularly on killers that have really short weapons because every killer has the same hitbox. So for Freddy, for example, he only has his little like finger things, which are obviously not as visually long as like a sword. So it looks like you got hit from very far away, even if it wasn't affected by ping. But there will be moments where I'm like running around a box and I will get hit on quite literally the opposite side of the box. It's so annoying. And of course, this also applies to like Huntress or Wesker or various other killer abilities. It's most egregious on Huntress, I would say. I'm sure you all know those moments where you're completely behind a wall and you still get hit, especially if you like only play with your friends on the opposite side of the world or something. This is going to happen to you quite frequently. Number 27, when the anniversary event is going and someone doesn't bring a cake. This is a less serious one, but I know that the community hates when this happens. Some people even go to the extent of like not saving the people who didn't bring a cake, which I think is a little much. Like, come on, it's just a little bit of extra blood points. But still, I know there is a bad connotation for those types of people, apparently. Number 28, getting Gideon Meat Plant as an M1 killer or Bubba. If this happens to you, it is the most miserable experience ever because you're just going from one pallet to the next pallet to the next pallet, and there's no mind games because they're all god pallets. So you just loop around it until the survivor throws it, you break it, you go to the next pallet, you break it, you go to the next pallet, and it goes on and on and on, and it's the same thing all the time. Number 29, any killer that camps the basement, and I'm also going to group in the next three, 30 being proxy campers, 31 being getting hard tunneled, and 32 being getting hard slugged, especially by a singularity. Those players, I wish those players didn't exist. Obviously, these four are very controversial things, so I'm just going to say this as objectively as I can. From the survivor's POV, unless you're very good, it feels like there's nothing you can do about this. And a majority of the players that play DBD are not very good. Like, obviously, yes, there is counterplay to these things based on the perks that you have and the players that you have and the strategies that you have. But a lot of times it just feels like there's nothing you can do about it. So obviously a majority of people are going to hate these mechanics, which is why the devs have been trying to incentivize not doing these things. Number 33, the prestige tax. I've talked about this before, but why does it exist? Like why? Why does it exist? Number 34, when you're playing a projectile killer and it looks like you hit someone, but nothing actually happens. I feel like this mostly happens on Deathslinger because his projectile is so precise, but sometimes I swear it'll go directly through their body and they don't get hit. I'm sure it has to do with the fact that survivors lean forward out of their hitbox, so it looks weird visually, but it's still really annoying. Number 35, the entirety of Forgotten Ruins. Number 36, getting hit through a window or pallet when you shouldn't have. This especially happens when you medium vault because your hitbox lingers a lot longer than it looks like visually. But even when you fast vault and you get hit from super far away, it's so annoying. Number 37, pretty much anything that slows you down and makes you hindered on both survivor and killer. This is just a general game design thing. If there's anything that slows your movement speed, it's gonna feel awful. And there are quite a few things that do that in this game. Number 38, when you hear the nurses scream as soon as you start the match. I don't think I need to explain this one. You're just gonna be in for a fun time. I'll tell you that much. Number 39, how long it takes for certain updates to happen. It took us like 8 years to get an FOV slider, an automatic blood web spender, and even a search bar for your perks. There were like 635 perks before we got a search bar. I understand major changes to like killers and mechanics taking a long time because game development is a lot harder than you think. But simple quality of life features and bug fixes should not take that long to happen. Number 40, Lightborn users, particularly the ones that have Lightborn when there was only 1 or 2 flashlights in the lobby. I will never understand why people use this perk because it's a direct nerf, but you do you. Number 41, how many game-breaking bugs there are every single update. Now, obviously, this game is completely bloated and the foundation for the game was made by a super small indie dev team. So it's kind of like building on a house made out of straw, but God, it is so miserable to have these game-breaking exploits and bugs and glitches every single time there's a major update. And it'll be things that are completely unrelated. Like they'll nerf Decisive Strike and suddenly Dracula turns into sonar. Like it's so weird. And I don't think their little Operation Health thing that's happening right now is working, unfortunately. Number 42, this may just be me, but I'm gonna give this to farming killers. When I was like a little baby DBD survivor, I loved to get farming killers because it was a nice change of pace. But now that I've played this game for years and years, I just want to play the game. I don't want to farm. Like a lot of times you get more blood points by actually just playing the game at a quicker pace. So I might be in the minority on this one, but I absolutely cannot stand farming killers. Number 43, removing skill expression. This has been happening update after update after update, just making the skill gap get narrower and narrower. And I can't stand this. Like, yes, there are some changes that I do think were needed. Like for example, locker saves, but it's just a bunch of changes like this piled up one after another that's making the game a lot less interesting because everybody starts to do the exact same things. Back in the day when all of the skill expression stuff was there, you would have some games where it's just like a normal game where survivors do gens and killers kill. But then you'd have games where you have to play around these really unique scenarios, like dealing with people that do locker saves or being a wraith and dealing with people that have flashlights. I loved that stuff. I loved having a different scenario that you had to learn how to counter because it made more unique situations and scenarios. Even like flashlight timing being non-existent now. Like I get it because it helps newer players get it more easily, but the fun thing about flashlight saves was that it took some skill to do. So it was a lot more satisfying to learn the timing and to be able to finally get one rather than now where you just have to stand in front of them and hold a button. I'm really worried about the future of this game if they keep catering to casuals and keep removing things like that remove skill expression. Number 44, when you go to a loop and it ends up being a 4-lane. I'm sure we all know how weak 4 lanes are. Like I would genuinely rather be at a TL. Like yes, you can loop 4 lanes. It is possible, but I feel like the only time they're ever good is if they actually connect to something else. If it's just a 4 lane in the middle of nowhere, you're just not gonna be able to loop it for that long unless the killer's just abysmally bad. Number 45, the us versus them mentality. This is the most annoying part of the community. It's always killers versus survivors. There's never just like DBD players. It's either killer players or survivor players. And it makes talking about the game very miserable. Like every single one of my videos, including probably this one, there will be people who are like, wow, these are such survivor-sided changes, or oh my God, you're buffing killer even more. And it's so annoying. Like I try to go out of my way to have a very equal amount of killer things and survivor things in these videos because I play both and I enjoy both and I enjoy talking about both. And I look at the balance and the fun of this game from a overall umbrella, not just in one role or the other. And I wish more people did that as well. Number 46, the movement changes. If you're a newer DBD player, you did not have to deal with this because this was a change a while ago. But basically they changed a bunch of the survivor animations, which made the game feel so much clunkier than it used to be. Yes, I do think it objectively looks better, but it does not feel better. Back in the day, the movement felt so smooth, like you could 360, you could turn corners really easily. And now, even though it does look better, it feels like you're moving slower and clunkier. Like I don't know how to explain it, but if you know, you know. A majority of the DBD community, when this was changed, hated it. They definitely improved it because when it came out, it was awful. So now it's better and we're all used to it now. But man, using that old movement was so much cleaner. Number 47, toxic players. I gotta throw this in there. People who say GG easy or teabag or any of those people. Like I get it, this game is frustrating, especially when they're already punching someone that's down. Like if it's a 4-man survive with friends and they destroy a killer and escape with only like 2 hooks and they're like, GG, you should stop playing this game, go back to Fortnite or something. God, it's so cringe. It's so cringe. And this game is very frustrating sometimes. So I understand why toxicity comes out, but I wish there was more just positivity in this game. Ironically, I'm saying that in a video talking about things people hate about this game. 48, Nemesis zombies. They're just awful on both sides. They're completely RNG if you're playing the killer, and they're completely RNG if you're playing against the killer. But it's not in like a fun, interesting way. It's just in a, oh, you happen to be in the wrong area at the wrong time. Sucks to suck. You can't work on this gen anymore. Or sucks to suck. My zombie's stuck in a random corner and it's going to take me 60 seconds to go punch them to respawn them. Number 49, when teammates sandbag you. Now, it's funny if it's your friends, especially if it's accidental, but when you're playing like solo queue or something and a teammate sandbags you, even if it's not on purpose, it makes me so angry because it's just something that's completely out of your control. And again, when something's out of your control and there's nothing you can do about it, it feels so bad. It feels so bad. And last but not least, number 50, when DBD players have a different opinion than me. If anyone has a different opinion than me, I feel the need to call them really bad names and bully them for thinking the way that they are, and just overall trying to make them feel as miserable as possible. People aren't allowed to have other opinions minions, because that just doesn't make any sense to my tiny little brain. So of course I had to throw that on this list. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and come check out this one on screen where I took useless DBD features and mechanics and completely reworked them to make them a lot more interesting.